crazy dude just like gets up there and he like falls over.
Yeah. Ah, is this me? I can't tell. Hey, we're here. We went and saw Independence Day Resurgence, which is the sequel to the first Independence Day 10 years ago.
10?
Was it 10 years
20
ago?
years ago.
20 years ago. Yes.
10 years ago would have been
I can't do my
2000,
2006.
And
Yeah.
Wait, do you say 2006 or 2006?
2006.
Okay, yeah, that's the way I said it.
Yeah.
I heard someone say it 2006.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Anyways, there's some returning cast in this movie from the first one, like Jeff Goldblum. Same president guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Pullman Dick.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
So, what'd you think of it? Ah! Yeah!
No one's gonna get that right off the bat unless they've seen the movie.
Let's get to a close encounter, bitch.
Yeah.
In this review.
Yeah, this movie is awful. Like, I'm just gonna get to it. It's awful. This is one of those movies that come out every year that is like a big blockbuster. It's action, and that's what people use to defend it. Oh, it's what did the one review say? Big dumb fun.
Yeah.
It's dumb, but it's fun. You just like it because you like it. Like, I guess, I don't know. I don't want to pay to see something that's just dumb and low quality and just kind of bad. But like, oh, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't really need to keep myself entertained that way. But I guess I sort of did get my money's worth of how bad it was. Like, I'm not going to see it again, but it was like so bad that it was sort of enjoyable in that sense.
Yeah.
I thought that they just did an awful job. Just an awful job. I don't know how else to say it. They brought people back to the movie, but some people that maybe shouldn't have been there, I felt like they should have let go. It wasn't like a really good example, recent example would be Star Wars, where they like integrate the characters in, but it's not like they're just kind of hanging on to them. It's like, it feels like, okay, we're making way for the new because the Star Wars movie hasn't come out in like a decade, and and this is picking up like from the movies that came out 30 years ago, Star Wars, and this movie is picking up from a movie that came out 20 years ago, and they're still bringing back the same people to be in the main cast, where they do have Liam Hemsworth, and I don't even know the main character's name. I know it was Will Smith's son in the movie.
Oh, yeah. Jesse T. Usher.
Usher. How did I forget that?
I've never heard of him.
Never heard of him. I mean...
Let's see if he's in anything, but yeah.
I like, just not memorable. Really, that's it. They just weren't very memorable. It felt like they were fighting for a spot to be in the main cast, but then they kind of weren't because you had to make room for Jeff Goldblum, who... I don't know. Like, if Will Smith backed out of this movie, why did Jeff Goldblum remain? Like, this is... I don't know. Jeff Goldblum can be amazing when he wants to. Yeah, that money. I mean... Like, how this movie happened, I feel like this is such a Nicolas Cage movie. Like, yeah. Nicolas Cage would have rocked the shit out of this. Yeah, I mean, that's just up front kind of how I feel about it. We could get into more specifics later.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie's fucking just awful. Just trash. I don't know. To me, it has 20 minutes of just kind of build up. Sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes just want them to get to the point. Then the aliens show up, and it just fucking just CG destruction porn for like half an hour. And then just way too much shit going on. There's way too many characters in this movie. It tries way too many things. The reason for you brought up on the way home, but the reason for the aliens even being there shifted 3 different times. You know, it just wasn't focused, and I feel they could have took a lot of characters out, took a lot of different plot points out, and just focused it more, and it could have been fun. It was fun to watch at times, but at times the acting is just so bad in this movie. It's just not delivered well, and some of the lines, like the way they're written, just were awful. Like, especially, I just felt the last 30 minutes was just awful. And it turned to me just a little bit more of a comedy because of how bad it was. And there's so much just nonsense yelling and just stupid shit. And that's the thing for a movie with this big of a budget. There's certain scenes that I just cannot fathom how they let it go through, and how fucking 20th Century Fox sat there and was like, this is great. Or the director went, this is fucking amazing. Like, I just can't. I can't imagine.
Didn't Fox make Fantastic Four?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. They let that piece of trash go through. Yeah. Which I might want to watch this movie over that one. But
I haven't
that's
seen that
awful.
one, so I can't say. Yeah, the Jeff Goldblum part.
Yeah.
They turn on the fusion thrusters and he's like,
and it lasted just too long. And it was awkward to watch. And there's just, anytime, they have a shot of, the pilots flying in combat or shooting or whatever, it's just like, I just don't get it.
People waking up from dreams, just screaming like the second they wake up.
Yeah.
Waking up from
It's
comas.
It's like a guy was in a coma for, 7,000 days or something? He's just like, it's like, what the fuck? I just don't understand. To put it in perspective, too, I would rather watch all 3 Star Wars prequels over this movie.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
It's just,
I would too.
Even good actors like Jeff Goldblum, I just feel don't save this movie.
He really phoned in on this one too, a little bit.
It's just way too many plot holes and just shit that just makes no fucking sense at all. And just, you first see, and you see it in the trailer, you see how massive this alien ship is, and you're like, and when it's coming down on the Earth, it's just fucking destroying everything.
On that Earth place.
Yeah. And
that's about it, though. It's big. Like, that's the whole thing. It's big.
And it was just destroying everything. You're like, oh, shit. This is actually kind of cool. This is getting way better than I thought it was, was at first. And how are they going to do this? They've upgraded their ships, apparently. And yet, it's so predictable.
Like, just how stacked everything is against Earth. It's one of those things, like, you just can't win. Like, you shouldn't win. You can't win this. Make this into they sequel baited at the end about something that just doesn't really even seem like an Independence Day.
Yeah.
Like the first movie and this one. But, like, turn this into, I don't know. I think the main thing, I'll get back to this point. The main thing I think I have to say is that I'm so tired of blockbuster movies trying to be comedies. Like, if they're not a comedy movie, like, if there's no one... Well, Jeff Goldblum can be pretty funny, but it wasn't really intentional. Like, this movie wasn't intentionally funny, but when you have no one that's, like, funny in your movie, don't try to be funny. There were so many lines in this movie that were dropped by, like, the... I don't even really remember names in this movie. Honestly, that's how... I remember Jeff Goldblum. Like, I remember his name, I kind of don't remember his name in the movie. I haven't watched the first Independence Day in like years. But you have the nerdy pilot dude that's like friends with Liam Hemsworth.
Oh yeah, Travis Tope, I believe, is the actor. Like, I forget his character's name, but yeah, I know who you're talking.
I don't know how many times he tried to like make jokes and like, I'm kind of funny and nerdy. It's just
louder face.
Yeah, nothing. And this like government kind of dude that I forget his name. The government dude that's like with I keep wanting to call him Malcolm because from Jurassic Park, Ian Malcolm, but he's with Jeff Goldblum and he tries to make a few jokes. And it just doesn't work. There's no comic relief in this movie. They try it, but it's just so fucking bad. It's blockbuster comedy. Like, you need to not do that. What was I saying earlier? Fuck, I was going to get back to that point, but I forgot what my point was. My point is, don't try to make, like, comedy stuff. Like, Avengers Age of Ultron, how many one-liners and, like, quips and oh hey, this is gonna be kind of funny. No, it's not. It's just not funny. If you're gonna be funny, but don't try this comic relief stuff with the crazy scientist dude from the first movie and he's weird and he fucking doesn't know how to deliver lines. Like, fuck, man. God. That guy should never work for Domino's. You'd never get your fucking pizza. That wasn't very funny. That was funny anything in the damn movie.
God.
But just so many parts, like, they drop the ball in this comedy thing. So, like, why do this? Like, this movie... Yeah, I was going to talk about the setup of the movie. Like, instead of having everything be, like, because Tyler said this, that it felt kind of rushed. Like, oh, we need to have a resolution for this movie. When the odds were clearly stacked against them. And this is the part where I guess someone might say, like, oh, well, how would you make the movie better? If you don't like it, how would you make it better? I would change it so that this movie doesn't really have a resolution. They try to stop everything, but it doesn't work. It just blows up in their face. The Queen does something. I don't know how I'm not really spoiling anything about it. I'll just be very ambiguous about it. The sphere. The Queen doesn't get the sphere or something. Take the sphere out of the movie. That didn't need to fucking be in there. And make it so that humanity kind of loses. And it turns into like an underdog thing where it's like... I know this might be like a route. This is the best way I can see to fix this movie. It's not going to be a good solution, but it's going to be the best thing possible.
Yeah.
Is turn this into what was that movie with Aaron Eckhart? Battle of Los Angeles or something.
I think so. Yeah.
I kind of don't really remember that movie. Turn it into not really that, but turn it into street warfare. Like, make this into more of a Cloverfield kind of thing, where it feels like you're much smaller and you're working the streets and seeing how everything is down there and you have to avoid the aliens. Take something from, like, I always remember that scene from Signs, and that might not be the best example, but when they have that, like, recording of an alien just kind of walking through, and there's, like, I think it's like a birthday party or something, a bunch of kids scream, the alien just walks through. That feeling of aliens walking through the streets and people trying to avoid them and being a survival movie and making it, like, gritty and dark, but not too dark. But this movie just didn't really... I don't know. This movie didn't really have an identity. And I know saying that sounds weird because it, in a way, it had in mind, we want to be a big action movie. But past that point, I mean, it, you know, like they were kind of wanted to have funny stuff, but it didn't really feel like they knew this is what we're doing. They just slapped a bunch of shit together, a bunch of those lines, like just movie lines, straight up movie lines that shouldn't really be in movies anymore. Like, I'm not doing it forever. I'm not doing it for everyone or whatever. I'm not doing it for humanity. I'm doing it for you. Like those kind of 90s things, like that should be left in the 90s, early 2000s at the latest. Let's come up with like lines, like good lines for movies that progress the plot, and it's not just like who thinks of that shit? Who delivers that? If that scenario was really happening, that's not the way it would go down. I know this is a movie, it's an escape and escapism and all that stuff, but like just in terms of a movie, I think a better idea would take it to the streets. You know, warfare, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just the writing was off. The movie didn't really. It's just like it put a bunch of shit together and like, okay, ton of advertisement. Let's sell this thing. And blockbusters don't have to be that. Blockbusters can be respectable. You know what I mean? Like if Star Wars, I know it's hard to compare to Star Wars because it's probably the biggest movie franchise in the world. They can come out as a blockbuster and still break box office records, and have like a 92% on Tomatoes. I think.
And like especially The Force Awakens, it had some decent comedy moments.
Oh yeah,
like they used it appropriately and didn't try to just shove it down everybody's face, and
it's not
it
like
had good acting.
It's not the same old cliche like, oh, that guy's kind of nerdy and he thinks the Chinese girl is hot. Oh boy, that's kind of funny. No, it's not funny anymore.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, Force Awakens kind of just did some interesting stuff in terms of comedy, like BB-8 sticking out his lighter. It's like, that stuff's cool, but this is just the Marvel one-liners, It's like, this is Marvel's effect on Hollywood now. It's just this one-liner garbage. Like, hey, I'm sorry I almost killed you. I'm not sorry I punched you in the face! Like, like, nah. And to me, too, to your point about just slapping shit together, I feel like they want to be this big action movie, but then they kind of want to have a lot of comedy type stuff in it, but then they want to be really serious, and they wanted to build this sci-fi universe, this lore around this, when it just fell flat on its fucking face and just does not work. It's like, okay, cool. The first Independence Day happened. We won. We used their technology. We made everything better. Cool. But beyond that, it was like just fucking trash. And it just did not work. And it's like you have this random object, I'm not going to say anything without spoiling too much, just show up and it's like, oh, well, this happened all over the universe. It's like, no, fucking get that garbage out of here. It just doesn't belong here. It feels forced just so you can set up more movies later. And it just, one of the best parts was they got inside of the ship and things were kind of intense, and they fucking barely did anything inside.
It felt like an Alien movie.
Yeah.
Like Alien, sort of Prometheus, where you're in their world, and it's kind of that survival thing. Like, that's kind of what it would be.
I was like, this is cool. Like, the inside of that ship is fucking cool. They have, like, their own, like, ecosystem and all kinds of shit. It's like, show me more of that. Focus. Just focus. More of everything.
Liam Neeson? No. Liam Hemsworth pissing on stuff. Not Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Liam Neeson just would have been serious.
Liam Neeson, Nicolas Cage. Let's recast this fucking movie.
Yeah. It's just a lack of focus to me is kind of what really, really, really hurts it. A lack of focus and a lack of just good quality deliverance of lines. It was just one-liners for fucking half an hour. It felt like. It's just, I mean, in terms of some of the visual effects, like, fucking on point. For the most part. I mean, there were some CG moments that kind of look not up to snuff compared to some of the other ones, but you like CG porn. This wasn't too bad.
Dumb fun.
Not as good as, say, X-Men Apocalypse. I know they're two different movies. They're both big, dumb action movies. But X-Men Apocalypse looked fucking amazing in terms of CG. This movie was like, hey, it's fine. Yeah. I didn't think Liam Hemsworth was that good either. See, I didn't think anybody was that good, and that's because the writing was just so bad. And so, they're just delivering fucking shit lines, but they're doing that in a bad way, too. It was just also poor directing, I would imagine.
It was also like they tried to work in, I always forget his name, Will Smith's son. That's what I want to call him. Yeah. They tried to work in his backstory and like, oh, I'm a military guy. I'm doing this for my dad or whatever, and like I lost, people special to me. Like I want to do this. I'm a military guy, and they try to work in Liam Hemsworth. He's like, oh, I'm kind of like the bad boy, and and then they have to work in Jeff Goldblum, who's just like, ah, and they have to work in Jeff Goldblum's romantic interest.
Yeah.
They have to work in the president. They have to work in General what's his nuts? General Adams.
Yeah.
I think his name was. They have to work in
the actual president. Both presidents.
Oh yeah.
The past president from the first movie and the new one who was female, of course.
Yeah. It wasn't Hillary Clinton.
They got to work in this African warlord who all of a sudden is allowed to be in the White House.
In Area 51. Yeah. He could just come in with his machetes.
Yeah.
An African warlord, no biggie.
Yeah.
He killed a few aliens.
And I just feel like some of these characters had no development. Like him. He's just... All I can remember of him in all his lines were... You gotta stab him in the back. and then the original president was just like... Ah! They're back. They're back. It's like all he said for fucking half the movie.
You know where they dropped the ball? The African warlord dude kind of understood their language. And if they wanted this to be like a respectable movie... if they wanted this to be a respectable movie, they could have dove into that more. They could have set up the backstory for that, like him understanding their language and more about their language or using their language. That's where you get like a deep movie universe. They're like, fuck that. We're gonna give him machetes and basically make him what's his name? Ving Rhames, the dude that's in like every zombie movie, the huge black dude, bald guy, deep voice. You can look up a picture. It's really recognizable. Yeah. They could have got fucking, I don't know. They may well have just gotten Mike Tyson or something. But
should have got The Rock in this movie. Because why not?
It's a blockbuster. It's a rockbuster. That's what they call it. The old rockbusters. It's a big summer rockbuster. And then they could have worked that in more. They could have worked in other things more to build a universe. But instead, they cut away from the movie to see like Judd Hirsch riding a boat on a tidal wave. Judd Hirsch being picked up by some kids. Judd Hirsch driving a school bus like toward an explosion. And then saying like fucking putz and schmuck in front of a bunch of kids.
Yeah, why? He's just like randomly driving a bus through a desert.
I don't know how they got to that part either. It wasn't even. It was like the salt fields or whatever those things are called. The salt desert, something where it's like that salt and shit. When it rains, it looks really cool. I don't know, man. And the scientist dude, I think he was the worst part about this fucking movie. He was so like, oh boy, like it just, oh my god, his lines are delivered so badly. Some parts it was kind of funny where he wasn't wearing pants and he has like his ass hanging out.
And he scratched his ass. And he's like, well, first let me get you some pants. He's like, oh, I didn't have pants on. Didn't have pants.
He was sort of funny sometimes, but then it just got old when he was like freaking out about all the information they were finding. And it was like, that could build a universe. And it looks like they're going to try to make this a thing where I'll put it this way, they make it bigger than Earth. Yeah. But, I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to fucking watch that. Because what are they going to do? They can't call it Independence Day anymore. Because, I mean, it's not fucking... every movie takes place on July 4th?
I know.
They can't do that. That's too much of a coincidence. I don't know, man. This movie is just bad.
Trash. Just say it.
All the fucking yelling and then not even sure what they wanted to do with the plot. They changed it a few times. Jeff Goldblum going, ah, 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 ah. I mean... It's almost as bad as a Jurassic Park laugh. Ha 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 ha. That old chestnut.
Oh god.
No memorable characters in this movie besides like the only characters that I remember their real names. I don't remember their names in the movie.
Yeah.
Like I remember Judd Hirsch, Jeff Goldblum.
Bill pull my dick.
Yeah, he shaves his fucking beard, then he's like, "Oh, I'm a badass now." I was fucking crazy at the beginning of this movie. I lost my damn mind, and now I can fly a plane.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's better than the ending. I don't know. The ending fucking sucked.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it was better than the first movie, but no, it wasn't. I was thinking the first movie where that guy is, and if you haven't seen the first movie, I'm spoiling it for you, but you probably should have by now. It's 20 years old.
Yeah.
The guy's like flying the plane into the ship, and he does like 18 one-liners in the span of like, he's like flying, he's like, rah, 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 he does this liner, and then he's flying, and then it'll cut away, and then it'll cut back, he does another line that's fucking sick, and he drops the mic, and they cut away, and they come back, and I feel like he just does like 4 fucking end of his life movie lines, and then he kills himself, and that's it. You feel like they would fucking know by now, like, hey, let's just leave the Queen out here in space instead of bringing it on Earth so they can just blow up and everyone dies.
Yeah. It had basically the same plot as the first movie, too.
They didn't blow up the White House in this one. I was hoping that, I don't know, that sounds unpatriotic. I might, the government might be watching me. I think I'm ISIS. But, didn't blow up the White House. That's easily, They did make a funny about, like, blowing up the monuments. Mm-hmm. But, I didn't laugh. So it wasn't that funny.
We laughed at things we probably shouldn't have been laughing at.
We laughed at how terrible this movie was. Yeah, it would have been cool to see, like, a universe based out of this, because I could see them doing some really interesting things, but all the setup for this movie, if they do end up trying to build some kind of universe, it's so cliche. It's so, like, ripping things straight from, like... And I take this as, like, a compliment, because I love video games, but in terms of sometimes the way Hollywood might look at video games, depending on the way you look at it, it could be, yeah, video games are cool, or it could be, that's sad that, like, Hollywood has run out of ideas, so they're stealing things from video games who are, like, original. It's both sad and cool at the same time, but they rip things, like, ideas straight out of, like, just recent things. Destiny and Mass Effect, I could see, like, totally ripping things like, oh, wow, we have, like, technology now, and
yeah, exactly.
Shit, and things just show up, and I don't know. But those ideas go way back before Mass Effect, and just some recent things, like, in terms of video games, like, they're ripping off video games now. I don't know, like, I don't want to say ripping off, but it just, the ideas that they're using seem to be, one could say, because I know YouTube changed its terms of service, so you can't really accuse people of things anymore, or certain things like that. But one could say that, the most legal way I could put this, one could say that they're doing things that seem a lot alike to Mass Effect and Destiny and that sort of thing. So, like, create your own world.
Yeah.
They're probably, if they go out into space, I just know that it's going to be some kind of, like, alien ripoff or something.
Probably.
One could say it would be an alien ripoff.
One could say that the aliens in this movie looked like the aliens in Aliens. Sort of.
In some ways, a little bit.
With the tails and all kinds,
They didn't really have very many aliens in this movie when you think about it. Like, it wasn't even this kind of horror thing, like, oh, an alien's going to be around the corner. It was like they occasionally showed up, they got mowed down by the fucking unfunny government lawyer guy.
What blew my mind?
The machete guy didn't even... African warlord was like, machete, oh, you gotta stab him in the back.
Shoot him.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He barely killed shit.
What blew my mind is the first alien you see, they're fucking shooting at him and nothing's happening. Yeah, and then later they just mow him down.
Yeah, I don't get it. This movie is so inconsistent.
Yeah.
Total Deus Ex Machina through the end with the spherical sort of thing. But yeah,
Independence Day Resurgence. Thank God we saw Finding Dory after this. After we watched that, that's a fine movie. You should watch that. That's a treat. Don't watch this movie. What would you give this movie?
Well, some positives. I found some humor in it. Not intentional humor, but I found some humor. So there was some level of enjoyment. There was potential, but you can't exactly give them props for, like, potential. Because when you say, like, oh, it has potential, you're really saying that they didn't fulfill it. Mm-hmm. You don't look at a movie and say it's like, that's amazing, it has potential. Like, those things don't fit. You say something has potential because they fucked it up.
Yeah.
So they had potential. This movie had potential. There were some funny moments, but acting just... It's just like they stopped giving a fuck halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
The spaceship crashing was pretty cool, but you see that in the trailer, so...
Yep.
Judd Hirsch was kind of funny.
Trademark.
Hashtag Greg Miller.
Yeah.
Like a 3.
That's exactly what I was going to give it. 3 out of 10 for me. This movie's not good.
Yeah.
Good IGN. They gave it an 8 out of 10. Give them props.
Yeah.
The plot veers off at some points, but that's okay.
Only some points.
That's an 8 out of 10 movie.
Only when it matters.
Yeah.
Only the important parts of the movie.
Yeah. Let us know what you think of Independence Day Resurgence, which if you really want to, you can go watch it right now in theaters.
Ready for some yelling?
Yeah.
Not
10 out of 10 when it comes to yelling.
Oh, yeah. Some of the best yells that have ever been in a movie.
Probably about a 7 out of 10 when it comes to one-liners. That's what we should do when it comes to... When we talk about movies now, we should rate it on yelling overall in one-liners. Because that's every fucking movie anymore. Anyways.
And, like, rate the best Ex Machina moments. Like, how a movie just bails itself the fuck out.
Also a 3 out of 10 for me because they showed that goddamn Suicide Squad trailer.
Yeah.
I'm tired of it. Alright.